Oh, there's a sign.
Got it.
Okay. Welcome to the board meeting, September 2021. Welcome everybody. Glad to see the people. Glad to see some new faces. Initially, just letting everyone know that these library board meetings are being recorded and they will be posted on YouTube on the Willamina Library YouTube channel. What's more? We're going to do some introductions for everybody. We're going to start off with Sarah.
That's me.
She's gonna share with us.
Yeah, so I'll start, and then we'll just go down the list. Does everybody have the agenda that I sent out to you guys? Okay, good. So you'll know when your name comes up. So yeah, I'm Sarah Frost. Hopefully you all know who I am by now. So I am the Willamina Public Library Director, and I have been here now for 5 years as of August 1st. So we're just trucking right along here, although it really feels like it's been like 10 years, I'll be honest. So just 1 second, I apologize. Our school district representative, Robin, is having a hard time getting into Zoom. So I'm going to pass the buck so that you guys can start your introductions, and I'm going to see if I can help her via email. So right back at you, Will.
Okay, I'm the next in line, Will Nelson. I've been working at the library since 5 years, come the end of last August. And that was as a volunteer. So I got to know Sarah very well and many of her projects. I've been a board member for 3 years, plus 1 year in the pandemic. And now they elected me to be chair. Oh boy. Coming into this new year, one of the most important things, of course, for me is a quorum. Without a quorum, there's no point in having a library board. When I first applied for the library board, the previous year, there were 9 scheduled meetings. Only 6 of them had a quorum. Can you imagine going to the supermarket or the gas station and saying, hey, fill it up? And they say, well, we don't have a quorum today. And that would happen 3 out of every 9 times you went to anywhere. That's how important it is. So I guess the next person, Dave's not here either. So we're going to move on to Capola, please. Capola, can you put on your mic?
Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm
Hey.
Capola Napoleon. Hi. I started coming to the library when my children were very young. I'm a homeschool mom, and we came to story time and used the library's resources to expand their education and literacy. And during that time, Sarah's passion really drove me to become more involved in the library. I started volunteering there and then ended up joining the Love Our Library fundraising committee, with which I became chair of in May of 2019. And so I've just been volunteering and helping with that, and we're looking to reboot the fundraising committee. The pandemic kind of put a halt to it a little bit. And unfortunately, I've kind of been on a leave, so I haven't been able to be in contact much with the library. So I'm excited to be back. I still have a lot of personal and familial matters to take care of until January, unfortunately. So hoping to really recruit a lot of people and maybe get a lot of you on the board onto our fundraising committee as well. And for this term, I'd really like us to help focus on rewriting our charter and getting that all established with new ideas and boundaries that really help us bring more people to the board. So thank you.
Thank you, Capola. Okay, next, Tracy, please.
Oh, hi,
Tracy
everyone.
Dillon.
I'm Tracy Dillon, and I'm a professor in the English department at Portland State University, but I live about 3 miles outside of the city limits of Willamina and on a 27+ acre farm. So this is my second term as a library board member. And I'm also on, and Sarah helped me out here. What am I on?
You
The
are
CCRLS
advisory.
board. I can't remember what that stands for. Yeah, what does that stand for, Sarah?
Chemeketa
CCRL.
Cooperative Regional Library Service.
Yeah, and it's a great thing. I mean, it's sort of like an attempt, to share resources and collaborate together. But I'm called a rural representative on that board. So I'm like totally into the library thing as one of the last stands we can make about democracy. And that's about it. The other thing I would say is I've had a lot of pleasure and joy in helping Willamina organizations and local organizations with grant writing. I teach grant writing among a lot of other things at Portland State. So if anybody is interested in getting, it's basically a community-based learning experience where I give you graduate students to write grants for you. If that, resonates with anyone, get in touch with me. I'd be delighted to talk to you about what that entails a little bit more. Sarah knows that I kind of jump-started my Willamina grant writing with her, and she has had, I think, some outstanding success with grant writing. So that's me.
Very good. Thank you very much, Tracy. Next in line, Emily Sims, a new board member.
Well, I'm Emily Sims, and I have some experience from the education side of things. So I was a K-8 school librarian in Minnesota for the first 8 years of my career. And the last 15 years, I've been working in McMinnville Public Schools as a reading specialist in some form or another, middle school primarily, but the last 5 years at Columbus Elementary doing their reading specialist program. So I really have a strong desire to hopefully get the parents in our community involved with their students' reading and trying to bridge that gap and give them power and knowledge to help further the literacy of our children in Willamina. My husband and I and my son, we just moved to Willamina in March from McMinnville, and we're just loving it here. So it's really a great town.
Thank you very much, Emily. That sounds great. We're all going to be interested in what you're going to add to our group. Tyler Crook is still not here. No, he is here.
I am here. Hi, my name is Tyler Crook, and I'm an artist and a writer. I work in the comic book industry. I've been doing that for about 10 years. And before that, I worked in the video game industry for about 12 years, doing 3D modeling sorts of jobs and different art in the video game industry. And I'm hoping I can bring some of that, expertise to the library and help get some of the kids particularly interested in the ways that, art and technology combine and the way the library can help provide that for them. And I've been in Willamina for about 5 years, and we're loving it. I just managed to move my folks into town too, so we're all pretty committed to this silly little town. And yeah, I think that's just about it for me.
Okay, thank you very much. New board members. By the way, we do have a quorum in our meeting today. Next, okay, Robin's not here yet.
She just joined us, Will. Robin, we're just making introductions. I know you just got in, so you missed everybody's introductions, but we would love for you to introduce yourself and your role with the library board.
Okay, hi. Sorry about that. I'm Robin Onstadt, and gosh, I don't know what to say about myself. I now got a new job as assistant library at Willamine School District. Yay! It's either that or try to get Sarah to let me work in there, right? Not really much else. I love books. I love being surrounded by books. And my husband knows that, and he's not okay with that, but it's okay. That's about it.
Okay, well, that sounds great. It's wonderful having all these new board members. It's going to be an interesting year. Move on to Carla Johnson, or no, excuse me, Dave Buswell, to keep all our board members together. Dave Buswell has joined our meeting also, I think.
Dave, everybody was taking a moment
Dave,
to introduce
well,
themselves. Yeah, I got to unmute yourself. And then
Sorry,
tell
I was late. I was going to remind, I had all these reminders, but it didn't work. Thanks to my wife when she reminded me.
tell everybody who you are, Dave.
Tell everybody who I am.
Yep, introduce yourself. We got new faces in the crowd.
Okay, Dave Buswell, former chairman, now relinquishing that to Will, who's going to do a great job, and lived in Willamine my whole life, and that's it.
Okay. That's all of our board members. Good. The next, how about Carla Johnson, please? She's our library assistant.
That's me, Carla Johnson, library assistant. I've been a library assistant for 2 years. Before that, I worked as a volunteer story lady for 2 years at the library. Lived in Willamine, outside of Willamine a little bit for 13 and a half years. And I love it here. I love my job. I love my boss. I love my coworkers. Yep, that's me. That's it.
Okay, thanks a lot, Carla. How about Richie next? Richie, you want to unmute yourself and introduce yourself?
Ryan, okay, there we go. The button just did not want to respond. I'm Richie Guscott. I'm our new youth events coordinator. We moved here about 3 years ago. Fell in love with Sarah and the library pretty much instantly. Met Kay Pola and Carla. And everybody knows my super rambunctious kid, Ronan. Right now, we are organizing a series of digital programs involving tabletop role-playing games, Minecraft, and other STEAM activities for the kids. I have formed a teenage and young adult club that is currently working on all of that. And I will definitely be getting with Tyler and Tracy as soon as possible to talk with them about some of the stuff we're going to be doing. So anyway, I think that's it for me.
Okay, that sounds interesting. Thanks a lot. We have one more person, the City Council liaison, who is not going to be at this meeting. That's Councilor Skyberg. Some of you may know her as a former mayor and a major volunteer, and Capola knows her well from her activities. Shall we go back to Sarah Frost for an introduction?
Yes, thanks, Will. Now that I can take a moment and finish introducing myself. So yes, I'm super excited for this year's library board to get to work. We've been so busy here, and there's always so much energy moving forward, but it takes a team. And I love that we have new members and members who have been with us for so long. And the thing I'm most excited about, I think, is the partnership we're continuing to build with the school district, which is why we are so fortunate enough to have Robin joining us as we are trialing one of our board term positions to the school district. And as we begin work on our charter and we find that this is a benefit to all parties involved, we can work to actually placehold a board position for the school district as a voting member going forward after this one-year trial. So thank you, Robin, for being willing to join us, especially since you are in the library up there. And I know the pandemic's got us meeting virtually, but I am just as jazzed and energized as ever to share with you guys later some of the projects we're working on here. And I just want to personally thank everybody for being a part of our team. So go team.
Thank you very much, Sarah. By the way, for those of us who joined us later, in the top left hand of my screen, I have a little blinking light that says record. All of our meetings will be, at this time, will be recorded and put on the YouTube for the Willamina Library. Okay, moving right along. Additions or questions or changes to the agenda?
Will we have?
Do we have any?
We have two additions to the agenda so that everybody knows. The first will be under new business, in which we will entertain a volunteer to become Will's co-chair for this year. And then the second item for your agenda will be also under new business, and it will be regarding personal email accounts being public record as being a part of the library board. So that's all I have, unless anybody else has anything else.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope that we've all had a chance to read the meeting notes from the last meeting that we had, the July 15 notes. If there are any questions or problems of that, I'd like to get that approved if possible. Are there any questions about the last meeting notes? Okay, do I hear an approval for the meeting notes?
We need
For
a
July.
motion, second.
I need a second.
I second the motion.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize. I missed who the motion was made by.
Okay. Moving on. The next thing is the reports. The library director report from Sarah.
Yes, sorry, I apologize. I'm catching up on my notes here. Yes, so I've got a few things to share with you. I'm not actually going to go in the order I listed them on the agenda, so my apologies. The first thing I want to kind of talk about is library services update, just so you guys know where we're at during the pandemic. We are still and have been providing services. We have our beautiful, wonderful pickup window that people have continued to use even when the library was open for a short period of time for in-person use. We have scaled back our in-person use. We're letting people in to use computers as needed when they're available one at a time again. And we are allowing people in for browsing as long as it's one at a time. There were a few reasons for this, but the number one reason, of course, is just the community spread in Willamina and watching the case counts. I follow also closely what other libraries are doing, and our largest libraries in the CCRLS system, being Newburgh and the largest, Salem, are still offering curbside services as of right now, not in person. Of course, libraries are all over the place and their services offered. Some are open fully, and some are offering scaled down versions of their services. Currently, City Hall is closed. One of the reasons for limiting services is I like to remind people we're just such a small staff. And if for any reason one of us goes down, that impacts all library services. So I have to do what I can to protect staff and volunteers to keep the machine moving and well-oiled so that we can keep doing these services, right? So that's the main reason. But we are here Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And I have to just give Carla super kudos because she keeps this place running so smoothly if it wasn't for her. Services are still disrupted at the CCRLS level. And what I mean by that is, right, we are all part of a consortium and we share library materials and services and we send books to each other, but we are short some staff members at that CCRLS level. We're down a network administrator right now, and we're also down a full-time truck driver for our distribution. So we are still experiencing quite a few hiccups that are pandemic and staffing related. And of course, our CCRLS staff is impacted by the college because they are college employees. So anytime there is disruption at the college level, then we see that also through CCRLS staff. That is library services update. Does anybody have any questions before I go on to the grants? No? Okay, well, that makes that easy. So the fun stuff, we are still trucking right along, as you know, and we received 2 grants this summer. So the first one is the Oregon Community Foundation K-12 Learning Grant. That was a $20,000 grant. Go us. Yeah, it's been exciting, and we are just purchasing all kinds of cool and amazing things to offer to the youth in this community. We will be expanding our astronomy club program, and we have telescopes that we're prepping for lending right now, and we'll be putting together citizen science kits available for checkout. We have this really cool, inspired by Tyler, like station now, and it's technology and art, and we'll be able to get that set up, and the kids are already asking for that, the teens who come in on Sundays. I'm working with Richie right now to get a resin printer and some accessories. The kids are interested in doing a podcast for the library. So we'll be getting some equipment for them to do that as well. And a huge focus that Richie and I are working on is learning through gaming, right? So STEM is huge right now, STEAM, depending if you want the art in there. And really there's this whole element. We did a conference, a 2-day conference virtually that talked a lot about some of this STEAM through gaming and all the opportunity there is to learn and connect, right? And really feed almost that emotional intelligence as well that our youth are definitely needing, I guess. And then these kids have just been so hungry, our teenagers mostly, to get back into the library. It's been fabulous, and we're trying to feed them as fast as we can. So the big thing right now that they're doing is Dungeons and Dragons, right? It's always been a huge program, but I think it exploded over the pandemic. So I just launched on social media channels this evening that we'll be offering our digital D&D campaign starting next Wednesday, and Richie will be overseeing that, and I will be launching Minecraft Realms and overseeing that myself starting in November. So lots to do with that grant. We've expanded our board game collection. It's just we enhanced our juvenile and our teen nonfiction collections. It's been some pretty exciting stuff with that money. That money will go a long way for us and what we can offer for the community as far as library of things and fun stuff. So questions about that grant before I go on to the next one? Yes, Will.
I just want to say thank you to Tracy for helping teach you that whole system. Awesome. High five.
Yeah, I just wanted to say congratulations. Wow. That's all I got.
Thanks, Tracy.
Good stuff.
Yeah, well, you know, it all started Tracy's grant student. So for some of those, some of you who are new to us, you know, Tracy, started feeding me all of these grants writing students, and they helped us really create that business plan document, I guess, that could really drive us in going after some of these more competitive grants. And of course, the interior renovation was that first huge success, and that was the renovation we saw last February, and that was also an Oregon Community Foundation $20,000 grant that kind of gave us a nice new shine and model in here. So, and then it's just been a success story after success story since then, so we're not losing any momentum just yet. So the next grant that I applied for was very competitive. It blows my mind how many libraries in the state of Oregon applied for this grant. I originally applied for an additional $20,000, but was granted $15,300. And that is a digital equity grant. And what that's going to do, there's two parts to that grant that I applied for. The first is to be able to pay one of our city staff members additional hours designated just to the grant to completely revamp, redesign, and give us a website presence, a new and updated platform, much needed for our city, but more so even just the library. So right, it's very selfishly, it's for me, but in order for me to be successful, I got to get them up and running too. So it's a shared project to get everything just a nice, fresh, new look. And our current website, which was being hosted by CCRLS, was on a Google platform, but Google has since updated their platform, and CCRLS has been working over the last couple of years to get away from the Google platform. So our current website, again, being hosted by them, is going dark. So all the more reason for me to get us up and running with a new landing page. So I've been working with Ashley, who's the staff member who's working on the website project. And there's another piece of that for the library, and that what I really want to do is make sure I pull in all of the amazing resources in our community, and it's a one-stop shop. So if somebody comes to the library page, they can get to the campus, they can get to the food pantry, they can get to the school district, they can get to the community calendar, so that it's just this one page full of all the local resources that are available to our community members. So that's the piece of the website. And then the other piece of that grant is how can we take digital equity outside our four walls and provide services to our community members who don't have any forms of digital or internet access, and or who may have barriers that keep them maybe coming to the library even. So we are in the process of purchasing our book bike. We are working on a design for the box right now, and then we'll be able to finalize that order. It has been paid for, and then it'll be, once we're done with the artwork, it'll take about 5 to 7 weeks for it to get here. And we've purchased a laptop that will go on there, and also a printer. So we'll be able to offer digital Wi-Fi and printing services from anywhere we're at, basically, in the community. So that is that grant. Questions?
Awesome.
Well, we've been busy, so.
Okay, is that all that you have, Sarah?
That's all my updates.
Wonderful updates. Thank you very much. Do we have any library board member reports? It's been a quiet 2 months. Moving on to unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Okay. If nobody has anything to add to that, we'll move to new business. And as Sarah phrased it, I thought we were going to be electing a new co-chair, but Sarah mentioned we're going to be looking for a volunteer. Is that correct?
Yeah, I figured we
Sarah.
should, open it up to a volunteer before we go into the fun task of nominating anybody. But basically, for those who don't know, really the co-chair will just help support Will if there's any projects or information gathering. It could be a number of things, but then also if for any reason Will needed to miss a meeting, that person could step in and make sure the meeting is ran and overseen. So it's a support role position for the chair, should the chair need it.
Thank you. So it's open. If anyone wants to raise their hand, we're looking for you.
Tyler. Tyler, did you mention earlier that you're also serving on the campus board?
I am. I'm on the West Valley Community Campus Board right now. And I feel like I kind of want to nominate myself, but I also am very new to these kinds of meetings, and I'm still sort of getting a handle on how these things work. Yeah.
Well, can I jump in and say there's no better way to find out than to jump. You'll find out more than you want to know if you nominate yourself, and I'm all for Tyler as co-chair. I'm just going on record here.
Thank you. Do I have a second motion? Do I have a second motion to nominate Tyler?
I see Dave Buswell
Or
there.
do we even have to do that?
No, if Tyler's willing to volunteer himself, I think it would be good. So Tyler, would you accept the position of co-chair?
Yes, I will accept the position of co-chair. And
Thank you.
if it ends up
Thank
being
you.
something that I'm
Thank
not
you.
good at, you can fire me from co-chair.
I promise this is a pretty well-oiled machine,
Yeah.
and I will always be here to support all chair and co-chair and board members should you ever need me. So yes, Will.
Just to let Tyler know that I was nominated co-chair on my very first meeting, on my very first board meeting, and I survived. Okay.
Well, I hope
Thank you
I'm
very
so
much, Tyler. Yes. Well, you are our co-chair. Next, the personnel email accounts that are they're going to be public information. In the back of my mind, I had a concern about because of the pandemic primarily, and the way people are getting angry about masks, about vaccinations, about the conditions of our city and our state. And right now, the last email that was sent out, not the last one, but the previous one that listed everybody's time of service, it gave our emails. And so I'm not sure if I want anti-maskers, because I mask. I've been masking right from the very beginning. I think it's a thing to do, but I don't want to have conflicts from anti-mask or anybody actually. So it's something to think about whether people want to change their email address that are going to be a public account. Sarah, do we have anything to add to that?
Yes, so yeah, Will brought this up before the meeting started, and it was a really valid point actually, because I'm currently working with the deputy city recorder right now, and we are connecting our social media accounts for archiving. We're in the process of that right now, and I mean, public records is a thing, you know, and all my emails, of course, are public record. And then serving on the library board, you could potentially, God forbid, requested information could be made of anything that's public record from our library board meetings, an email thread. I mean, it could be a number of things. And another way to protect ourselves, right? So I was using my own personal cell phone for a number of things, both work and personal life, right? And then it was brought to my attention that maybe I should get a work cell phone so that I can really separate what's mine versus what really belongs to the city. So it's just something to think about. So, and if anybody wanted to entertain getting another email account that was like library board related, I would be more than happy to help anybody with that. And along with that too, if you're needing technology or accounts, I'm here to support you guys in your role, especially as we see the move into more of a digital platform, right? And it really becoming kind of something that just sticks around. I don't really think that's going anywhere. And especially since we'll be able to make our meetings public record by sharing them online. I just want you guys to just know that that is something for you to know about. And if you have questions about it or concerns, you can absolutely reach out to me. But you are all public officials, I guess, at the moment. Yes, Tyler.
Is it possible to get a city issued email address?
They do that for city council.
Mhm.
I will find out what licensing is available for us to do that for our library board as well.
Okay.
That's an amazing
Good idea.
Dave?
With all this recording and this and that, and as I look around at all your pictures, I realize that this is putting an undue burden on me. I'm going to have to clean up my TV room. It's just a mess. Look at that scene that you guys are looking at. So I'm a little disappointed in all this recording stuff.
Dave, I can give you a lesson on how to change your background if you ever want to just put,
Oh, okay, maybe that'll work.
I'll take a picture even of the library and send it to you to use as your background. So. Will.
I've heard that with maybe it was not Zoom, but I think it was on Google. I was having a meeting with somebody, and they told me how to change my background. That's automatically created. But they did mention, and I had, I think, 3 choices I could make. But they did mention that if you don't have enough bandwidth, that it's going to start breaking up your speaking. So people won't hear all your words, and you won't hear all of their words. So I don't know if that's going to be, if Zoom is that way or not. Something to remember by using the automatic changing of your background during a meeting. Okay, that sounds great. Do we have any additions to that? Okay. Future planning. The parking lot. I'm not sure what that's about.
So this is,
Sarah, you
yes.
want to enlighten us?
This is a agenda item that just plants the project, potential projects, I guess, for the library board. So as we are ready to move these projects up into new business and or unfinished business, these were some of the things that the library board were discussing prior to the new year. Or there are things that have come up. And those things for future consideration, when the board is ready to discuss, you can let me know and we'll move that up on the agenda. But those will be updating the library board charter. As Capola was kind of mentioning, it's very well, I sent it, I think, to all of you, and it's a very old document, so it needs some attention. And updating, especially to the ORS, which was linked also in those meeting minute notes. And then, so that'll be a big project. And then the other one is the library moving to fine free, which will, when we're ready to discuss. Currently, we are fine free as we remain in the pandemic and cannot offer consistent services. We have chosen in Willamina to continue opting for fine-free services until such a time that we know people feel comfortable and confident to be able to get materials in, be able to come inside the library and use the library. But that's what that future planning is. And then as you, as a library board, identify projects and or discussions for other meetings down the road, this is where that can land until the board's ready to discuss.
Great, thank you very much. Well, do we have any questions about either of those topics at this time?
Tracy?
I had to step out for a second, but the first item you were talking about is revising sort of the bylaws. Is that right?
Yeah, so the
Sarah?
library, yeah, the library board is
Or editing them or just looking, yeah.
yeah, the charter needs an update. I don't remember the year that was on that charter. It's 80 something, I think. And so
Yeah.
ORS laws have changed considerably for public, what defines a public library, and then some of the parameters around library boards, be them a governing body or an advisory body. And in Willamina, our governing body is city council, making our library board an advisory council that advises city council on library policy. Any changes that we want to see made to the board comes from this group right here. So and an example of that is we made an addendum to the library charter a few years ago when we went from a 5-member board to a 7-member board. And the library board submitted that addition to the charter. But the whole charter needs to be overworked because the library board does not perform a lot of tasks that it once needed to do. An example of that is in the charter. It says the library board shall complete the state statistical report, which is not a thing anymore. That's definitely my job to get that report done every October. So there's just some things in there that needs to either go away or add. So like the fundraising committee work could potentially go into the charter. Later this year, as we're discussing it, the addition of the Willamina School District board position could go potentially in the charter as well. And then the other thing we've been discussing a lot lately too is that our library does not serve just Willamina, right? And so even though there's no really restrictions about where somebody lives. It's not well defined either in our charter, but we serve people and patrons and youth that come from Sheridan zip codes, Grand Ronde zip codes. Our rural population is very well spread out and diverse. So we want to make sure we're able to serve and capture them and give them opportunities to be a part of the library board down the road as well. So those are some of the things that the board's discussed and we were discussing going into the end of last year.
Great, thank you very much. I would like to add about the, a small note about the fine free. We did vote before the pandemic. We did vote to allow the children's books to be fine free. I forget the age group, Sarah. What age group does that go up to?
0 through 17.
Okay, thank you. What else? Next, I think moving along, does anyone have any more questions about that or comments at this time? Okay, announcements. Does anyone have any announcements?
No.
I think it's 6:48, so we're moving along very well on our time. I would like to take a short amount of time and talk specifically to our new board members and discuss my first board meeting. I'd never been a member of any board before, though I'd seen boards in action. Tempe, Arizona, the third largest food co-op in the country at the time, they had some problems. And so it was quite a learning experience for me, just being a bystander. But in my first meeting, I was asking Sarah about actually about the fines for children's books. And I wasn't sure what happened at the worst level, if somebody was totally abusing the system. And she was explaining that. And then I had this flash of an idea that would satisfy me, because we already had some discussion about going fine free for children, and it was not being well received. But my idea I thought was good, but I'd only been thinking about it for 30 seconds. But the thing that opened the gate and let me say it was, they haven't told me to shut up yet. And so I went ahead because I knew if they didn't want me to say it, they would quiet me down. I had 2 minutes to talk. And so kind of saying the same thing to our new members, that if you have an idea and you think it's, oh, this won't work, I've never heard of it before, you know, it's silly, go ahead and think about putting it out there. We're a wide, diverse group. It might fit. And maybe it won't fit perfectly, but we have enough people where we can adjust and modify. Okay, thank you. Do we have any other announcements? Any questions, feedback?
Dave? Dave and then Tyler.
I just in watching Will's first chairmanship meeting, I want to commend him on a well done job. I really like the tenor of it, and he's much improvement over that last Yahoo we had as a chairman. So well.
Oh, Dave, I was so happy that when you were the chairman, and I realized that now I'm just taking my turn. We've got some board members who are much more active than I am now, especially since the pandemic. I used to put in a lot of hours every month at the library, checking books out, checking books in, doing Carla's job before she got hired. And well, at least checking books in and out and filling holes, which I was able to free Sarah up to do work on her projects. Thank you, Dave.
Go ahead, Tyler.
Tyler?
I just wanted to ask Will if there was anything you thought I needed to look up to be a co-chair, or to anything specifically I needed to know, or if we needed to get together and talk about it or anything like that.
If you would feel comfortable, we can always do email. Yeah,
Okay.
an email would be best if you have any questions, but basically you've seen how it runs. It's kind of based on Robert's rules, but we're not real strict about it, but we want to be thorough and cover everything and not exclude any ideas. Mainly following, Sarah does really well on filling out the agenda and getting out to people, usually at least 2 weeks before the meeting. So people have time to go over the old meeting notes and go through the new agenda and think about whether they might have any questions or not. So paying attention to that is probably the biggest and probably the only thing you can do, unless, and you might be, have you ever worked with Robert's rules before?
No, well, only at the with the West Valley Community Campus, but they're not strict sticklers for the rules there.
They probably fit in the way we do then.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Okay.
if at any time you have questions, get in touch with me or Sarah.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Will.
Okay, thank you, Tyler.
Tracy,
Any other questions?
I think I saw Tracy raised his hand.
I did. I just wanted to follow up on Dave's comment. Will, you're doing such an excellent job. I love you, man.
Thanks for the generosity. Good group. Anything else?
Yeah, I think so.
Does anyone?
I'll go real quick if I can, Will, just especially since the meeting is going so smoothly, and we'll actually be done potentially before 7 o'clock. I just one more time just want to reiterate a huge thank you, and this is going to be an amazing group to work with over the course of 1 to 4 years, depending on where you're at on the board terms. And if you get a chance to come by the library, I'm here usually for sure Monday, Tuesdays, or Wednesdays, and I'd be happy to connect with anybody. But thank you for all the volunteer time, for all the upcoming volunteer time, and Robin for continuing to help me build my impact up at the school. Thank you. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, Will.
Thank you, Sarah. Does anyone have anything else to add before we ask for a motion to close, to adjourn? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Maybe
I second it.
the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much for all your attention and your membership. You're showing up. Great. High
Thanks,
five,
everybody.
everybody.
I always stick around for a
Good
few
job,
minutes
Will.
after the meeting, so if you need me, I'll be here until everybody's gone.
Thank you.